Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope you got a chance to watch that fight last night. That was a really good world title fight. Raymond Ford, the Savage, wins the WBA Featherweight title in a fantastic performance in such a ebb and flow fight. That was really a tremendous prize fight and ended in absolutely dramatic fashion, stopping Otabek Kholmotov with like 7 seconds to go in just a tremendous finish and just a superb fight. I thought it was brilliant. Let's chop it up. First of all, thanks to all the subscribers for tuning in. Thanks to anyone new locked in. Wow, yeah, I've just watched a little bit of the fight back and I got goosebumps when I watched it the first time. That's like a real boxing match, you know. You had the tactics, you had the ebb and flows, you had moments where I thought, you know, Kholmatov was, you know, sort of starting to, you know, take the fight away a bit, and he was up on a lot of people's scorecards that I was following on Twitter, and obviously scoring the fight a little bit, not like round for round, but just you can gauge it a little bit. But, you know, all in all, it was just a really, really good fight. Let's talk about the start, okay, because I thought Kholmatov, look, he came out, you know, very jittery, you know. He was he needed to calm down a little bit, and that played a part later on in the fight, which we'll get to. But he was very erratic. Some of his punches were a bit wild, but he did catch Ford with like a straight 1-2, which he kind of went away from. But that was a 1-2 near the end of the round. It wasn't the cleanest shot, but it was a sharp, quick shot, and he just let him know he was there. And then in the second round too, he started to impose himself a little bit, and he caught Ford with something, but it pushed Ford back, and that was the physicality and the sheer size of the man, which I spoke about pre-fight. I picked Kholmatov to win this fight, either on points or by a late stoppage. I was really wrong, and congratulations to Raymond Ford, because he proved me wrong. And that sometimes, like often, I'm like, wow, okay, let me go back to the drawing board and see why. Because at the end of the day, for me, it was Ford's composure that really hung in there. Look, is obviously his grit, his heart, his determination, his resilience, his ability to keep his shape and stick to the game plan and change it up a little bit too, which by the third round, you know, Kholmatov, Mark Kriegel had Kholmatov 4 rounds up, and I think that's a bit strong. I think probably 3-1 maybe, but Ford started to change up the tactics. He started to feel Kholmatov's power, and he said this post-fight, he's like, it wasn't all that. So I just, you know, I was able to take it. And then Ford started walking Kholmatov down. I did not see that happening at all. I thought it'd be the other way around for the majority of the fight. I didn't realize it would be so many ebbs and flows. But again, boxing, this beautiful sport, is full of surprises. And Ford walking down Kholmatov with this high guard. Now, I was following boxing Twitter last night. Clarissa Shields posted something saying, you know, I like what Ford's doing, but I don't like the peekaboo high guard. And I responded saying, well, what would you rather do? Head movement, question mark? And she's like, head movement, feints, and angles. And I thought about that, and I was like, well, I didn't respond after that, but I thought to myself, I know Ford, he had struggled making the weight, and I thought he was conserving his energy, right? And walking down like that and taking a lot of shots, he was blocking almost all of them, because Kholmatov was wild with the shots. He was very wide with the shots too. And Ford could see a lot of that coming. And when you are talking about doing feints like that, that can take a little bit of energy from you. Carl Froch just pointed this out when Tyson Fury's feint game has gone down from something averaging like something crazy to like 30 or 40 feints around, maybe more, to like 10 or 12, because Fury knows that when you feint, it takes a bit more energy out of you. Not a lot, but if you're just doing this and you're walking your opponent down, you're not using hardly any energy. So I'm not saying I totally disagreed with Champ, but I was thinking maybe he's doing it just to conserve his energy. And later on in that fight, it came to fruition, because as the middle rounds came on, it was just so back and forth. I was really surprised to see Kholmatov boxing, and this is his amateur pedigree that came into play. Obviously, he was being forced to go on the back foot, use his jab a little bit more, and he was still that backhand. He could just, after the first round where he set it up with that 1-2, he was rarely landing it, you know, especially not when it was a lead backhand. He would lunge in with it like that and just come in with the lead backhand. That's the hardest shot to land in boxing. Your lead backhand, you got to set it up with something, a little feint. Speaking of feints, or just something creative. You can't just lunge in with a massive shot. And Ford was defensively responsible. He could see it coming. He was blocking shots. He was, sometimes Kholmatov would do the 1-2-1, very Eastern European / USSR post thing to do, excuse me, because it's a very, ingrained in that but Ford was covering up, catching those shots. There was a lot of body work for both guys. That was, Ford had the tighter, crisper shots on the inside because he's got the shorter arms, and Kholmatov's punches were a lot wider. So Ford was doing some neat body work. Got to give a shout out to Coach Anthony, because he had a magnificent performance. That's Raymond Ford's coach. Superb performance last night. I couldn't hear everything he was saying from a tactical standpoint, but from an energy point of view, from trying to get the best out of his fighter, try to G him up, guide him in the right direction, and set him up for success. That was a magnificent corner work. I mean, it really was. He was getting me going. And I've long followed his channel for a very long time. I coach a little bit, and I get all my tips and videos off of him. I watch a lot of his stuff if I'm on the way to the gym and I've forgot about a certain thing. I'll watch his videos, and I'm really happy to see him doing well in the coaching world. I think this is, I'm not sure if it's his first world champion ever, but that's now a great success. And they've got Matchroom a champion now. Eddie Hearn is going from strength to strength again. Matchroom's coming back. They are coming back. And Ford probably won't be at 126 by the sounds of it. He said he was done at that weight, so he's probably gonna, I'm sure he'll end up vacating the belt, unless it'd be nice to see him defend it once. But if he really struggled making the weight, like I said, which is another reason probably why his output went down. But he tactically, he did the perfect thing. He really was wearing Kholmatov down without taking any punishment, and that pressure, I did not see that coming as I thought. Let me know what you guys think. In the comments about how the fight went. How did you see it going? Did you see Ford being the smaller guy, being able to take this bigger, stronger man, supposedly stronger, but bigger man, and walk him down? It was fascinating. Steve Kim was on Twitter, Jamel Herring, and they all had a close-ish fight, but they did have, I think Kholmatov was edging ahead. And as the fight got to the 11th, Kholmatov had a pretty big 11th round. And I thought, okay, that's the tide turned back, because Ford turned the tide in the middle rounds by the pressure. Kholmatov was still raggedy and is still very wild and erratic, but he was still landing, he was landing some jabs, and he was doing some good body work too. So it was nip and tuck. And I watched the fight obviously live, but I didn't watch the whole thing this morning, but because I wanted to get this video done. So I might be missing some stuff here and there. There was a lot going on in that fight. That was a multi-layered fight where, I could be missing some stuff. But Kholmatov had a massive 11th round, which I think took a lot out of him, because in the 12th, he was backpedaling and he was boxing, he was being very negative, and I was thinking to myself, this is before the stoppage. I was like, no, you can't do this. You can't do this in a world title fight. You can't give any reason for you to not try to win and not look like you want to do the work and put the damage in, or be the aggressor. Not only are you not being, you're just backing off. And it was kind of reminding me of like De La Hoya against Tito. Not as bad, but you got to 12th round, you can't. So in the sense, I think he probably not deserved, that's a bit strong, because I was generally devastated. Not devastated. I was watching him thinking, man, poor guy. That he just went through like a real brutal fight, and then he gets knocked out with 7 seconds to go. But I felt for him, but I felt for Ford too, in the sense where I was, wow, that was a great performance, and he really deserved that. And I was well happy for him. I don't know these guys, but still, that's what boxing does. It's such an emotional, draining sport. And you could see that Ford was emotional at the end of the fight. Kholmatov was devastated. But he didn't really let it hang out. He didn't really try to win in that 12th round. And I think the 11th took a massive amount out of him. And, it was what it was. And Ford, some people online, Doug Fisher, the Ring Magazine, aficionado, analyst, was like, questioning the ref's stoppage. But here's the thing. Because Kholmatov was so off balance and so raggedy the whole fight, when he did get hurt, and I know he had a knee injury. Some people were saying he had a knee injury, and he does have a knee brace on it, and he's very tall and wiry, so it made his balance look the way it did, but he got hurt too. Turned his back, was like, you know, trying to get his balance, and stumbled into the ropes, and then he got caught with another shot. And when you're facing the crowd, you're not facing your opponent, your body shape is all out, and you get hit in the face, you don't really give the ref much of a reason to not stop it. And I think it was a little premature, don't get me wrong, but you're also giving the ref, you know, a perfect reason to stop it. You've got your back facing your opponent, you're getting whacked in the face, you look like you're out on your feet. I didn't blame the ref, and normally I'm one for like, I love to see the fighters fight. I love the, you know, I'm Steve Smoger, RIP to him. He was my favorite ref because he really let them fight. So I'm like always, you know, that was a bit premature, but you got to put yourself in a position where you can't give the ref anything. Do you know what I mean? That's easier said than done. He's getting hit. He's out of shape. He's tired. It's the 12th round. I get it. I'm not trying to be too hard on the guy, but, you know, I didn't have a problem with the stoppage. But look, once again, tremendous fight. Raymond the Savage Ford is the WBA Featherweight champion. He was talking about moving up, and he talked about Joe Cordina, another matchroom fighter. Eddie Hearn was in there loving it. Listen, I made a video about a year ago saying Eddie Hearn has got this, Raymond Ford has got this, and he had that dog, he had that skill, he had the fundamentals that kept him balanced, and he just kept believing, do you know what I mean? But he had this very like low-key demeanor, but inside he was dealing with a lot, and he put in a tremendous performance, and that would be a highlight of his career for a very long time, unless it'd be hard to top that in terms of the drama. But look, congrats to both those guys, and I'm glad they came out the ring healthy. I hope they're safe and everything's cool with them. Let me know your thoughts. Again, I've got a couple more videos coming later today. I'm going to talk about this Amanda Serrano fight that got cancelled briefly. I was watching a ton of boxing last night, and I'm going to talk about Tim Tszyu and his defense, this new video that emerged that I thought was interesting. I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the history of some of his moves and the science behind it. So stay tuned for that. That'll be out later today. I'm out of here. Peace and love. Boxing on the Edge.